Fam, what is going on? How is everybody doing? I spent most of the day, just as a disclaimer, dealing with some technical difficulties and didn't take care of some stuff I really wanted to get to. So I got in my research bag, but not as deep as I wanted to. But we still gonna have a good show today. How is everybody? How is everybody who was at the hearing and everything? We talked about that briefly. We talked about all of that briefly. We didn't talk about it as much as we wanted to, but we talked about that, and we're gonna get back into it, because a lot of stuff has to be redone, rewritten, and reanalyzed. So we're going to get back into it. But what we have to do, as always, fam, is we got to take care of business. Please, please, please like. If you're in there right now, please hit the like button. And if you missed the hearing, it's okay, because our people were in the hearing. We have to read on August the 1st, that is a Thursday, so we will have the Monday show and the Wednesday show, and we will be reading how the Irish became white. So that is August the 1st. That is our next book club. That will be, hey, what's up, family? What's going on? What's going on, Triple Stranded Karen? What's going on, everybody? We will be reading this book. This will be our next book club book. Again, that is August the 1st. That is August the 1st. So please take care of that. Please take care of that. As usual, you can hit the like button, you can hit the subscribe button, hit that bell for me. If you want to donate, go to donatebrown.com or patreon.com/ycornell. Subscribe to my email list. A lot of stuff is happening with YouTube, so please, if you have not yet, go to subscribetobrown.com. I rarely even use that. I rarely even reach out to you. I do not spam you. Everybody can tell you. So please do that. I just want to have the information so that I can coordinate and navigate when hopefully, I just want to have your information myself. That's all I'm going to say about anything that's happening right now. Also, if you are so inclined, please share this with your family, share this with your friends, share this in your social media and all that good stuff. That would be great. That would be absolutely great. I would appreciate it. And today, see, in terms of, I want to give everybody on the show, the brief little 30 minutes that Antonio Moore and I did together. I thanked everybody who went to the hearing, everybody who organized for the hearing. But I want to do that once again, because I think what you did was kind of phenomenal, in a sense, in the sense of, nobody can say a lot of things. Nobody can say we're just a hashtag anymore. Nobody can say, oh, you all just, Yvette just keeps y'all marching around, Yvette and Tone, y'all just follow. No, you kind of did that yourself. You organized your way there yourself. You did that yourself. So we provide leadership, Antonio Moore and I. But what we don't do is Messiah leadership, where we just expect you to just like you're robots or something. That's not the brand of leadership, and I've said it before and I'll say it again. That's not the brand of leadership that I'm interested in. This is an identity. I'm not interested in us having an identity where the only people who get to, every time there's a camera, we run up and take the attention and the money. That's not what I'm interested in. I'm not interested. And I heard Ta-Nehisi Coates use one of my quotes verbatim, in terms of, if you get stabbed, or, it takes a longer time to heal the wound and inflict the wound. I say that all the time. So I appreciate that. And I was at the Angela Project. The Angela Project, we do that every year. We're very much involved in that with Dr. Cosby, with Simmons. So we had to be there. And it's always good to know that, and I think it's good for us to understand that we can be in a bunch of different places at the same time and be effective as a group. We can all, there are a lot of leaders in this group. There are a lot of generals out here. I consider myself one. I consider Antonio Moore one. But there are a lot of other generals out here. And I saw y'all on Twitter moving around, navigating. People who didn't see each other at the hearing, but then connected. When I was in Birmingham, people who didn't know each other, they're connecting. That's what it's about. It's not just about this word. It's not just about this helicopter brand of leadership where you swoop in, you provide leadership, you provide guidance. And I said during the Angela Project that I'm building a new website. And what I want to do in the website, and what I'm doing, there's going to be a forum. But the forum will also have, I hope to set it up in a way that it also has space for people who are in different regions, because I don't want you all, it's kind of hectic for me to have to check the email, then try to check my DMs, then try to check Facebook. And no, I would like to have a hub for that kind of conversation, and where people in different regions can kind of come together, that's not on a platform that I can moderate and run and own, because we've had problems with that. You have a group and it's an ADOS group and they get pissed off at somebody and block other people out the group. I would like to have some kind of continuity. So working on that too, and finally got somebody who is doing a good job with the website. So I done fired about 4 people, but finally got somebody who is doing a good job, and we're gonna let that ride. Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about Mr. Bernie. Mr. Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders doesn't have as much spunk as he used to have. He used to be spunky. But now Elizabeth Warren is all in his bag, so he's having some problems. So, she had her own plan about education, because we're talking about education and college debt, and how the college debt is burdensome. It's too much, and people have 6 figures, 5-figure debts, and what they have to pay is just too much. I agree with that in principle. Bernie. I agree with that in principle. I do. And so what happens though is that we're having this conversation about it. So everybody's trying to outdo everybody. So Elizabeth Warren had limitations and guidelines in terms of this is how much, but Bernie came out and said everybody get they debt canceled. Everybody get their student debt, even wealthy people. We don't care. I'm in favor of universal policies and politics, and that's what I'm gonna do. Republicans have no problem. Make this a little bit bigger so you all can see part of what he said. Republicans have no problem spending trillions of dollars on tax breaks for billionaires. They don't. He's right. They have no problem spending trillions on endless war in the Middle East. They don't. He's right. But when it comes to college for all or cancel student debt, we can't afford it. What hypocrisy. There's a lot of stuff we can't afford. Bernie. There's a lot of stuff we can't afford, according to you. According to America. There's a lot of stuff we can't afford. That's not the all of it. That's not the beginning and end of it, Bernie. But here's something else he tweeted that I want to bring special attention to. The part at the bottom. He says, are you truly free if you graduate hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt? Are you free if you cannot pursue your dream because you don't make enough to cover your student loan payments? We will cancel student debt because there is no freedom without economic freedom. Read that one more time. There is no freedom without what? Economic freedom. Now we're going to go through the plan a little bit, because you have to do these things. You have to understand things before you can criticize them, assess them, or anything else. So I want to go to this. This is a New York Times article. Bernie Sanders unveils education plan to eliminate student loan debt. And I want to give a couple of quotes. You know how we like to do quotes. We like to hold people by their word. So we like to do quotes and put people in their own words. Let's talk about the cost, because remember what I said. Fam, remember what I said. The truth is not in the words. The truth is not in the rhetoric. The truth is in the what? The truth is in the budget. Now, mind you, we said reparations for ADOS anywhere from, I think it was like 7 trillion to 10, 12 trillion, right around there, right? And we said it could be done multi-generationally. And people say, oh my God, you want cash payments, you want money? Well, yeah, in order to close the racial wealth gap, we need money. So yes, we want that, but we want a whole lot of other stuff too. We're talking about credits. We're talking about tax advantages. I'm even talking about robust affirmative action. It's a lot of things we can talk about. But yes, cash payments is a part of that equation. That's how you live an American life. But nobody wants to do cash payments when it comes to us. You want cash payments. You want money. The Negroes always want money. They always want money. So no, we want you to pay a debt. We're not asking for a lottery win. But whenever we say something about cash payments, it's a problem. But you're willing to cash pay off someone's student loan. So when we say it, it's all an issue. Money. As if you didn't cause that debt with not only slavery, but the accrued disadvantage that we always talk about. So let's talk about how much Bernie is going to spend. To pay its estimated 2.2 trillion costs, its authors would impose a Wall Street speculation tax on financial investment transaction. Mr. Sanders said that all debt could be eliminated within 6 months under his plan. Now I want you to understand one thing. Let's come out of that. Let's maneuver. Let's come out of that real quick and go to something else. Your boy Beto O'Rourke also came out with a war plan, a war plan where a war tax. Well, he's going to have so much money set aside, you will be taxed for veterans. What I want to point to in saying that, and I don't have anything against veterans. I agree that veterans have been wrong, mistreated in terms of what they're supposed to get. But I remember what we didn't get in terms of the GI Bill. It's still not the same. But I'm not talking about that. What I'm talking about is how creative everybody gets when it comes to paying for other stuff that doesn't include or just includes us on the margins. When you want to do universal stuff, all over a sudden, we can find the money. All over a sudden, we got the monies. The monies is here. We can figure it out. When it comes to veterans, when it comes to universal college debt, we're going to figure this thing out together because it's got to be done. But when it comes to reparations, how dare you want cash payments? Who do you think you are? And so that's what I think about when I think about Bernie Sanders. And I want you to understand this. I want you to compare this to Elizabeth Warren's plan, and we're going to come back to it and talk about why it's a problem. It says Ms. Warren's $1 trillion plan would eliminate some or all student debt for about 95% of borrowers. About 42 million people, according to her campaign, canceling up to $50,000 for every person with a household income of less than $100,000. More than 75% of borrowers would see all of their student debt eliminated. She has said that she plans to introduce accompanying legislation with Representative Jim Clyburn of South Carolina, number 3 Democrat of the House. That was the early, before the whole presidential. He ain't gonna get involved in that, child. But understand, this isn't what Sanders did. Sanders wants to cut out debt for everybody. So ask him. When you ask him, you say, "Well, Bernie, why do you want to do that? That don't make no kind of good sense." Everybody, wealthy people, anybody. Well, this is his logic, and we're gonna unpack it and tell you why it's a problem. Mr. Sanders told reporters he did not support income cutoffs because I believe in universality. Now let me tell you, fam, how I know these people aren't acting in good faith. Let me tell you. People don't understand one thing. When you talk about what Bernie's doing, that is wealth redistribution. If you are not a person who believes in fairly redistributing wealth, if you are not a person who believes in fairly redistributing wealth, then you are not a person who believes in justice. Because let me tell you, people say, "Well, Yvette, you just ran on everybody's parade." I'm gonna tell you how he could do it. He could say, I'm going to tie this to wealth. If you have more than $250,000 in wealth, we're talking about wealth. We're talking about your parents, your family, your house. If you have that, then you do not qualify. What that would mean is that proportionally, we would benefit more than everybody else because we're the most wealthless people. If you tie it to wealth, then it makes sense because you're giving the most to the poorest people, and that means we get the most. Doesn't mean really poor white people don't get it too. What it means, we're the most wealthless, so we get the most in terms of this, and other people don't get the most because that's what it takes. Because the most pernicious and vicious lie is the lie of the level playing field. No. The level playing field isn't necessarily a fair playing field because, see, some people got too much and some people got too little. And we got too little. You're going to have to get that back. Well, what do you mean, Yvette? Well, I mean this tweet right here. There's a tweet. Let me find this tweet. People say the strangest thing on the Twitter about their lives and everything that goes on with them. And this woman said this: I am 180K in debt. I have a PhD and am a tenured professor. My students are in the same boat, sinking in debt. I pay $1,100 a month in student loan debt, half of my rent. Let me just say this, family. Let me just say this. Homegirl, you are able to pay $2,200 in rent. We don't know what your family situation is. We don't know what your life looks like outside of this. But I know what ADOS life looks like. So let's just get to something, because we have to do, we try to do data and we try to do numbers. Because there's another problem in terms of redistribution. That's not the only problem. There's another problem. Let's look at the numbers let's just explore for a moment. Just for a moment. College for ADOS. College, let's not say ADOS right now. Black Americans in general. Because we are black people in general. Because we have a lot of people who go to college who are not ADOS. So let's explore what black people in college looks like. Let's explore those numbers. Let's explore that. The college gap by race and gender. Okay, black. You see black men. You see that number. Now look at the left side. Look at your left side. Percent of individuals ages 25 to 35. 4 years of college education. Right? That's on your left side. And look on your right side. And you see the solid dark blue, navy blue bar. That is black men. The other dotted kind of bar, that is black women, and it goes all the way to 2015. And you see how black women kind of creep up to 25 and black men are at right around a little above 15. Okay, also look at this. These are the states with high black educational attainment. Top 10, bottom 10. So the top is like 26.8%. That's Maryland. Looking at Colorado, 25.1. That was kind of surprising for me. Oregon, 22. Okay. Now I want you to look at this chart carefully. I don't want to go through them too fast. And I'm going to bring this up a little bit bigger. But this is black educational attainment by sex. Now that you know the title, I'm going to bring it up a little bit bigger. You see the dark green, that's graduate or professional degree. You see the middle green, the middle grade green, that's bachelor's degree. You see the kind of bright outside foliage looking green, that's associate's degree. So when you look at the bachelor's degree, now let me bring it up a little bit, I'm sorry. The men versus women. So bachelor's degree, let's look at that, that green, 12% versus 14%. So 12% men, 14% women, right? Black. You look at the graduate, oh, that's a real small number. Men, black men, 6%. Black women, 9%. Look at that chart for me. Look at that chart, because we're going to talk about it. Look at that chart. So most of us, the vast majority, look at how small those numbers are. Even the bachelor's degree, 12 and 14. Now I want you to think about this. I want you to think about this. I want you to understand this. So in terms of this plan, most of us don't, the majority of ADOS, the majority of black people don't go to college. So what you're telling me is that the child of a Wall Street banker still gets a bailout, Bernie. He still gets his college paid for, Bernie, because you do universal. So the child of a Wall Street banker still gets a bailout, but a poor kid who didn't go to college gets nothing. That's your idea of justice, Bernie. That's your idea of justice. Because you say I do universal. I believe in universal. So the child, I'm going to say this again, the child of a Wall Street banker, you say you're so against Wall Street, he gets to have his kids' debt wiped out too. But if a black kid didn't go to college, he gets nothing under your plan. Not a thing. How is that fair? How is that good for me? How is that justice? You have to explain that to me. Like Monique said, make it make sense. Make it make sense for me. See, if you tied it to wealth, you would be fair. You would make sense to me. If you tied it to wealth, it would make sense to me. Because then, disproportionately, it would be betrothed on ADOS. But even when you look at these numbers and you understand, like these are black men. Black men educational attainment have attended college versus in their lifetime versus have a bachelor's degree. Right? Now you go down here, that's all black men in the orange. I mean, that's all men, I'm sorry. And that's black men in the blue. All men in that orange and black men in the blue. Right? So understand, you have to understand what we're saying. You have to really understand what we're saying. This only helps. This should be tethered to something else. This should be tethered to wealth. If you want to do it in a fair way, it should be tethered to wealth. Right? That's the first thing you got to understand. But the second thing you have to understand is that even this way, it only helps black college grads. And when we look at those numbers, what we see is that the majority of us, in terms of black people, are not college graduates. Now you say, I'm just not talking about the majority. I want you to hear me when I say this. There are 200 million whites, right? And then when you talk about like, what, 40 million of us or whatever, you're talking about if 20-some-odd% of us get a college education, whatever the number may be. That's a sliver of us. This is not just about percentages. See, people look at percentages and say, well, you know, 20-some% of blacks gonna get it. So that's still good, right, Yvette? 20-some% of blacks gonna get it. But you gotta understand what our number is. We're like, what, 40 million or whatever? That's 20% of a group that's already a minority versus like 200 million whites. So you're giving a sliver of a small group a benefit. That's what you're doing. So what you're doing is see, here's the thing. Let me bring this chart up. Let me make it big. You see the people in that top? You see the people? You're going to help the people who are already in the top. You're going to help the people already in the top. You see that 75.4? You're not doing anything for the rest. The bottom 50 of households who are worth less than $1. You're helping. Listen, I have a college degree. So I'm not speaking against education, but you have to help the collective, not just the sliver of the collective that went to college. If I was a selfish person, if I was a person not interested in the group, I wouldn't care. But understand that I too, like a lot of these people in this bar, this top blue bar, a lot of these people have family, parents who are already in college. Like when I went to Howard, I ran into a lot of people who had parents and grandparents who were like second, third generation Howard or HBCU. You're helping that group. But what we need is collective movement. What we need is collective uplift. That's what we need. We need collective uplift. We don't need to help the just the ADOS or just the black people who are already in the best position. And people, I know what everybody's gonna say. Everybody's gonna say, well, Yvette, it will help me pay for my college loan. Let me tell you something. You think it helps? It won't. These white people have 75% of our 2.6. Understand something. Understand something too. Family. I don't care if they write off your student loans. You still got a family. And I'm not just talking about your kids. I'm talking about all your cousins, brothers, and sisters. You still in a black community because we tend to live amongst each other. You still with your family and they have nothing. So what good is it if you can't have a community that's worth something? If you can't have a community that's stable? What good is it? You want to run off and leave them? You want to run off and leave them? Is that what you want to do? Because understand, even if Bernie pays off your college debt, you still black and you still have all the problems of blackness. And the problems of blackness are not just college debt. See, when you see, this is part of the problem too. Like, they only have a small problem. Like, they have a problem like, well, my college debt too high. If I get this college off me, I'd really be good because I'm white. I mean, I'm talking about the stuff that comes with whiteness in terms of I have some inheritance, but it's not enough, or I have a good job, but I just need to get this debt off of me, this albatross off of me, get it off my neck, and I'd be good. And so this is a lifeline to them. It's not a lifeline to us because we got too many problems that stem all the way from slavery and accrued disadvantage. We have the problems of race. So the real problem too is not just about, well, we have this college debt. The problem too is like how you get that college debt. How did you get that college debt? That's part of the problem. Like, you, let me put up something that helps explain this too. There was an article in BuzzFeed a while ago. I think I used it one time before that says, why even quote unquote wealthy, I would challenge the idea, black students have more student loan debt. Well, why? At the root of the disparities are differences not only in income, but also in how black and white families acquire wealth, which includes home equity savings and inheritance and pass it on to their children, the study said. Wealthy white families tend to have the kind of wealth that are easily liquidated and also easily passed down to generations, passed among generations, like stock, savings, home equity, which can be accessed in the form of home equity loans, according to the study. Now, see, the problem is we became a contagion to wealth. The problem is we became a contagion to wealth. Here's the next thing. The wealthy black families in the study had only half of the financial assets and less equity in their homes, making them less able to pay down their own debts and contribute readily to their children's education and living expenses. Though wealthy white families contributed on average $12,000 to their child's college educations, wealthy black families gave just $4,200. See, what I'm telling you is that what you have to fix first, you have to fix race. And not fixing race is a dodge. Because we inherit poverty. And we won't even talk about plugs and outlets. So you talk about erasing the debt, and then a kid doesn't, and then ADOS doesn't even have anything to plug it into in the job market. What are you doing? You have to deal with, one of the things that has to be dealt with in this conversation, you have to deal with the why. Why don't more black kids graduate? Why don't more black kids go to college? Why don't more ADOS kids do that? We have to talk about the crumbling schools. You have to deal with race and the racial wealth gap, because that's what we're looking at. That quote you just read, that I just read and you just read when it was up on the screen, what that quote tells you, what that quote is telling you is that the racial wealth gap persists amongst all of us, except for the very top aberrations like Oprah and Jordan or whatnot. That's what it's telling. Even like wealthy Americans still don't have it because we're contagion to wealth. So our homes don't accrue the same value. We're still trapped. Everything else is piecemeal. It's whack-a-mole, like I said before. You're not really dealing with race and the consequence that we deal with. You're dodging it. You're taking our reparations and giving it to the rest of America. You have to deal with us. You're not even dealing with us in kind of a class-based way, where you say at least it's tied to wealth, so that somebody doesn't get it. You don't want to do that. You want to throw all of America a lifeline and leave us out here with nothing, because we still don't have anything. I don't understand that. You don't believe in justice if you don't believe in fair redistribution of wealth. You just don't. That's the myth of the level playing field. There is no level playing field like this, where you just make everybody equal. Everybody gets the same thing. The Wall Street banker. Well, everybody needs to get the same thing, because the Wall Street banker's kid who went to college, if he has debt or whatever, if he decided to take out some loans, I don't like you, daddy. Don't pay my loans. I'm going to do it myself. I don't want to be bothered right now. I'm going to run off. Oregon. Make spoons. If he does that, or if he did that, he gets his stuff paid off. You know, people, they throw all kinds of tantrums with their parents. Keep your money. And then get back together. So if he did that, then he gets whatever. Somebody worth $1 million did it and gets whatever. And just, I don't want to pay that right now. You know, see, these people move their money so weird. Well, we're going to pay that later. We're going to move this money over here. But the black kid who didn't get to go to college because he had nothing and had no aspiration for that, because he knew he couldn't pay for it, and college wasn't for him, he still gets nothing. And that's the majority of us. Now, see, if you just care about yourself, you want to be kind of boule with your stuff and be like, well, Yvette, I would get something, so calm down. You got to think about more than you. It will pay my loans off, but I'm thinking about more than my loans. I'm thinking about more than me. I'm thinking about the group. You got a lot of Negroes around here who are just running around because Yvette, that will pay off my stuff, be so good for me. Stop saying me. You got black people all around you who ain't gonna get nothing. So that's not community uplift. We are interested in the collective, not just the top tier group. And again, I say this as a college graduate, a proud one. That's not the point. I'm not anti-education. I'm pro-group uplift. Come get it, understand it. And you're trying to, see what you're trying to do in terms of the rest of America, all of America. You're trying to give the rest of America a life that ADOS never had. You're trying to give the rest of America a life that ADOS never had. You're trying to save their life. You see their life kind of crumbling. Oh, we have to do that because college is expensive. It's an albatross around their neck. Blah, 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 blah. But we never even had the life. We never even had the life this woman talked about. This woman talked about, let me see if I can find what she said. It was madness to me. We never even had a life like this. Well, we had this debt, yeah, but we had $2,200, a $2,200 apartment, a 10-year professor. We never had this life. See, you're trying to save her life. But we never even had the opportunity to have this life that she had for the most part. But you want to save her. I see you, Bernie. You're sending her a lifeline. That's not for me. She got $2,200 in rent. That ain't even a house. Honey, you living all right. You want to save the American dream for her, but we never had the dream, and there's a debt that still owed us. And even if you were going to do this fair, because I'm a fair person, I'm a fair-minded person, you could tie this to wealth and say it's wealth tied. If you have more than $250 in wealth, you talk about you, family wealth, inheritance, all that, you don't get it. That would make the bulk of it go to us, but you didn't do that, did you? Stop playing games with me. You didn't even try to, one of the things that's very interesting about this whole thing, and she works for Bernie as a policy advisor, this lady who was talking like she was just regular. But one of the most interesting things about this whole conversation is how, you know, after Reconstruction, remember the Reconstruction documentary? It talked a lot about how, after the Civil War, freed the slaves, they just, the rest of America, it was too hard to deal with us, and they just ran off and left us with the KKK. So you left us to be slaughtered, murdered, and robbed and plundered by violent races. That's what you did to us, America. If you're not sure, that's what happened. What I see when I see plans like this is I see people doing that again in a different way. Everybody just keeps running off. We ain't got time to really deal with y'all like that. That's too much. There's too many of y'all now, so we ain't going to do that. So we're going to run off again and leave you here again. So don't tell me that you're revolutionary, Bernie, because there's nothing revolutionary about leaving us in the wind. There's nothing revolutionary about hanging my butt out the window. There's nothing revolutionary about that. Stop calling yourself that. You're not revolutionary, sir. Revolutionary. So you're revolutionary on everything except race. You're revolutionary on everything except race. You ain't doing nothing for me in terms of race. You're not trying to fix race or make us whole. I'm just going, that's the dumbest thing I ever seen. This thing right here. Let me just put this back up. Mr. Sanders told report he did not support an income cutoff. It should be a wealth cutoff, not just an income. But I believe in universality. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. You're so stupid. What does that mean? I believe in universality. That means you don't believe in justice if you believe in universality. Because some people got too much and some people got too little, like I said. What are you talking about? Burn it, burn it, burn it. Jesus. We have to deal with, and I've seen, if you got the newsletter, that's $2 a month. Subscribe to that if you get a chance. But you get to see there were a series in the newsletter this week. It was mostly reparations articles, and there's a coalescing of support amongst liberal and writers for reparations. And what we don't have, though, is the will to do it. Listen, I can get in a room with anybody and talk to you. If you say it's too expensive, we can work it out. And we can work it out in terms of policy. We can work it out in terms of all the ways we need to work it out. But that's not the problem. That's not the problem at all. Slavery is America's original sin. I saw an article like 2 weeks ago about gay reparations. We've already had gay reparations. That was Obama. It's funny that Mitch McConnell said Obama was kind of like reparations for black people. No, he was gay reparations. Because reparations for the LGBT community was never about money. It was about rights. The right to marry, the right to get your spouse's money after they pass away if you can't marry or whatever. Got all that. Obama was LGBT reparations, not ADOS reparations. So he was reparations for one group, but not the other. It's kind of like, even with Mitch McConnell saying that, it's kind of like his wife is Asian. It's Chinese, I think, maybe. But it's just like, is she because is she reparations because of her position? Mitch McConnell, is your wife reparations for that community? For that Asian American community because you're married to her? Is that what it is? Because that's what you told me. You told me my reparations was Obama. He's not even ADOS. If you don't understand anything else, please understand this. There is no, repeat after me, there is no argument against ADOS reparations. Not one. It doesn't exist. I told somebody today on Twitter, stop playing devil's advocate. It don't work. We know our contribution to this country, our ancestors, and us too. But going all the way back, we know how slavery, chattel slavery, American chattel slavery built this country. There is no argument. There's no America without American chattel slaves who we come from. There is no America without that. So we know the contribution. We know the multi-generational oppression and accrued disadvantage. We know it, without a doubt. We got all the scholarship, all of it. So if we know it, if we understand it, then we understand that there is no argument against it. There is no devil's advocate. There is no way to play, well, let me just try to see if I can do both sides. And I'm going to just see, well, Yvette, what if? Don't what if me if you are ADOS. That is being off code. Do not what if me as another ADOS person. I understand what they were saying. I understand what you were saying. Don't send me that nonsense. Don't waste my DM space with the bull. Do not tag me with that. That is stupid. You are stupid if that's what you believe. There are enough books. There is enough scholarship out right now where we understand what we're owed and what happened to us. Do not, well, see what, and then what? You're not wealthy enough to be talking trash. You're not wealthy enough to be in my mentions talking about what if this and Yvette, he got a point. There is no point. And if you believe there's a point, you just don't read enough to know that there is no point. A bunch of books out there. We've talked about a few of them. Half has never been told. All of them. We've talked about it. We've talked about it. We've had the conversation. You need to get where you need to get. We should all be on the same page. Please do no harm. I saw somebody, some little scoop it up child said, well, oh, see, they talking about gay reparations now. Y'all noticed the end of reparations, right? Please excommunicate you. You don't get to say that. You don't get to be that far off code. You don't get to do that. Why can't you just go somewhere and shut up? It's one thing. It's one thing to have to fight white supremacy. We all knew that was going to happen. But what's wrong with the rest of y'all? What are y'all doing? Just because you can wear a bow tie don't mean you got wealth. It don't mean you special. Who are you? Who do you think you are? Who do you think you speak for or to? We have to deal with generational theft. We have no time for your silly, silly games. We have no time for your nonsense. Not now, child. Not now. So I'm going to get to the phones, fam. I'm trying to get there kind of early because I know I started a little bit late. So I'm going to try to get there kind of early so we can have the conversation, because let's make the if you have an observation about, because we didn't get to talk about it. If you were there at the HR 40 hearing where you have an observation or something, I want to hear about that. And if you also have an observation or something about Bernie Sanders and the plan or whatever, I want to hear about that. So we can talk about two things a day. And, it's what we do. So I'm going to take 3 or 4 minutes as usual to set up the phones. And I'm going to try to give everybody more than usual time to have that conversation, because we didn't have a show. I missed the show. So I want to hear everything that's been going on since I've been gone. All right, fam. going on, family? We are about to get to the calls, have a little conversation, have a little fellowship amongst friends, as we do all the time. What is going on here? Okay, I'm going to my first call. I am going to 310. What's going on?
Hello?
What's going on?
Don't talk. I can't hear you, Yvette.
Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, this song talks. What's up with y'all? So essentially, what I wanted to do was just tell y'all, just kind of break things down. But before I get started, I wanted to tell y'all, like, there was something that happened this weekend on Saturday with Amani Perry. Is that her last name? Yvette?
Yes, I think so. Yes.
Yeah, professor. And essentially, what's the trip is these people, what they're doing is they're starting wars around disrespectful language around ADOS and reparations, and they're not ready for the response. In her case, she just didn't know what she was talking about in terms of black immigration. Y'all might have seen the tweets going back and forth. In no way was I trying to disrespect her as a black woman, but I'm not having it. Know what you're talking about. She said something about third generation immigrants, I believe, particularly African immigrants, but then black immigrants, let's just say that, have it similar to ADOS people. There aren't third generation black immigrants here. I'm not guessing. I'm not playing. Smithsonian said it was to the right of the decimal point, meaning less than 1% were black immigrants, and those were largely students, which means they were privileged. You got to know what you're talking about. If you don't know what you're talking about, then don't talk. We're not playing no more. And don't cry afterwards and be like saying that people disrespected you or whatever. You came on Saturday while I'm at the airport talking, and I had to let you know that what you're talking about don't make no sense. I just wanted to have that out real quick. But Yvette, can we pull up the 2.6 first, just to kind of, because I want to make sure everybody understands
the what?
Everything that she's talking about.
The what?
92.6 chart, the pie chart.
Oh, the pie chart. The pie chart.
So let's just make sure that everybody who's new understands the reality of wealth in America. White America has 90%. Black America has 2.6% of the wealth. We're the 2.6. That's it. 14% of the population, 2.6% of the wealth built the nation. And I say this just to say we got to understand that first, and then let's pull up the blue bars, because I want to make that clear, the point that you were making earlier, so everybody understands the game that's being played, the con. When you look at this by decile, this 2.6 is not divided among Black America evenly. What you actually see is that the top 10% of our families, and those people that have been here know this, and I'm just making sure, the top 10% of Black families, largely like boomers that benefited from affirmative action and the like, few celebrities, but mostly like boomers, they have 75% of the 2.6, so like 2% of it. What Bernie's plan will do is basically give most of that trillions of dollars to the children of this group, who will also then give them a windfall through inheritance. And I think that group, the problem is overly represented in our class that speaks for the rest of the race. Those are the Briannas that work for Bernie. Those are the all of the different like blacks that have a professional career. Valerie Jarrett's daughter. They speak for the rest of the race, the bottom 80. But they got a parent that's gonna leave them a windfall. And I'm just saying that what Bernie's plan does effectively, it leads to a possible situation where this chart won't just look like this. And again, to give you context, this wealth stratification that you see within this group might be the highest in any society, among any subgroup, any modern first world kind of society, by any subgroup ever. So what you might get at the end of Bernie's plan is that not only do they have 75%, but they got 85%. Because now they don't have to spend their money on the education. I'm not here to help out no boule. I'm just telling you the truth. And I think that everybody has to understand the dynamic of we would be rewarded if somebody who decided not to pull the money out and pay for their kid to go to college. But then we would be forgetting the black kid in the ghetto who, as a result of multi-generational misluck, failures, everything else, has nothing. It didn't go to college. That's not what we're here for. We're not here for Bernie Sanders' plan. And I think one of the problems with Bernie's plan is the word universality. Well, America has slavery. Ain't no universality. To say that is to not understand American history, and I've said this again and again about Bernie and his problems. He ain't been here long enough. His family ain't been here long enough. He wants to start America in 1920 and leave out the civil rights. Well, people say, well, he marched in the civil rights. All his plans leave out the civil rights. It leaves us out like slavery didn't happen. There's no universality after you have hundreds of years of slavery followed by Jim Crow. There's either you gonna forget black folks or you not. Now let's pull up the foreign immigrants chart. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. See, Yvette, the foreign immigrants chart, what it tells us is a very interesting data point that Bernie ain't keeping secrets, y'all. See, we only got 20% that got the college degree, but what it might be worse because you look real close. Let me say it again. You look real close, and the black line for foreign people that have degrees is 25%. But for regular, like the 33 million, this is ADOS basically, 16%. So we're not even getting the share from the. Hold on. So we're not even gonna get the share of the $2.2 trillion of forgiveness coming to ADOS. This is reparations for black foreigners. Call it what it is. Am I wrong, Yvette?
No, you're right. Don't get me in trouble. But yeah, you're right. No, you're right because we don't because we're not taking them out of that number. You're just saying black people. You're not saying ADOS. That's why I want studies to start dispersing people. To start dispersing people, you have to take it like the studies we saw for LA, the studies we saw in Boston, in Miami. You have to take these groups apart and see who's getting what.
So let's talk about it in terms of just what we know in LA. In LA, the median white family is worth $350,000 middle, regardless of education. The median Nigerian family is worth $50,000 or 140, and 70 of it is like liquid. The median native black family is worth $200 liquid. Ernie's plan will give them the bulk of this plan. It won't go to ADOS because we don't go to college that much. Look at the numbers. I don't think we understand it unless you focus reparations on our lineage. We don't get enough of it. I don't care what no politician tells you. There are 200 million whites. They go to college at a 40% rate. There are 40 million blacks. We go to college at about a 22% rate. But if you look at ADOS, it's only 16%. 25% is so basically what I've told you this before. You might arguably have a situation where America has slickly made an out for themselves. Where, let's just say that black America has 10% of success. Well, half of that is going to 7% of our population, which are foreign immigrants. And it's just time to get honest that these plans that don't focus on our lineage avoid us. That's what's going to happen. It's going to go to. It's just what it is. Let's bring up one more chart, which is the racial dot map. First, let's bring up the blue chart that shows the cities, and then go to racial dot map.
Okay, hold on.
So when you start talking about programs, anything like that, you got to look at it based on where you live. I just got back from both Birmingham and Alabama. I live in California. Understand this. What we saw on the blue chart that Yvette brought up earlier is something very interesting. The bottom 10 states with high black educational attainment are what? Alabama, Mississippi, South Carolina, Louisiana, and Wisconsin. Let me read this one more time. Alabama, Mississippi, South Carolina, Louisiana, and Wisconsin. Something interesting about that, right? Let's pull up the racial dot map, Yvette. When you look at the racial dot map, you understand that the top 10 places are not where black folks are at. It's a windfall. So our communities will suffer. There's gonna be a windfall to white communities. Now, I believe that largely what might happen is we might expand the racial wealth gap with Bernie Smith. I ain't sat down with it enough to explain it all, but I believe we might expand it. Look where black folks live. Black folks are the green dot, concentrated in what? Let's look again. Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina. And then we up there in the Midwest as well. We're not in those states that actually have the high edge. I'm just saying, what we start to understand largely is that everybody is playing a charade game. So we believe that they're going to give us $2.3 trillion in in student loan forgiveness, and then remember reparations after? I said it in my video earlier today. I don't have no problem with you doing this, but do it after you do reparations. You got to do it after. It don't help us before. And so for those black people that are sitting out there with their hands out saying, well, I'll take anything and this is better than nothing, it's not. It's not. And the reason why I say it's not is because what Bernie is doing is keeping the status quo where it sustains white wealth. It's not better to sustain white wealth. Like, I think fundamentally, how these people keep paying for their kids to go to school. Individually, it might be a sacrifice for you, just like it is for me, just like it is for Yvette. Fundamentally, what we need is a transformation that focuses on the lineage, the struggles of African Americans, of ADOS people in this nation. If we don't get that, I don't see how we survive. I just want to make sure I get everything. You got to remember, look at this. I'm going to end on this note, Yvette. Remember Olivia Jade with the whole scandal, the college admission scandal?
Yeah.
You know where they found her? You know where they found her when they found her and finally had to tell her some, like, you've been cheating and everything? They didn't find her in the library, Yvette. They didn't find her in the classroom.
Where she was at?
She wasn't on the dorm either.
What she was?
She was in a yacht. She was on the at the USC trustees yacht. What you might end up with, come on, is a situation where you give a windfall to people to only give it back to the school another way, through like donation or whatever. So now school free, but we're going to come up with another cost for school, which is like a donation to the school. So don't think that this solves it. Don't think that this makes you American. Because you're going to pay off your student loans, but then your kid is going to have a new cost. See, we need to solve the entire racial framework where black folks are undercast, where black men are basically going to prison and born to go to prison, where black women are left out of the workforce. We need to look at the realities of what people are saying and the consequences of them, because they're trying to solve their own stories, and we're trying to listen to theirs instead of fix ours as well. That's all I want to say.
All right, Tone. Tone always, as usual, bringing the fire. Tone bringing the fire, as always. That's nothing new for this show. That is nothing new, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, but it's a windfall. It's a trick. Like, everything is like these little weird tricks they do. These little odd tricks they do. Well, we're going to give, and everybody in this. No, she was on a yacht. I didn't even know she was on a yacht. What you doing on a yacht, little boo-boo? Little boo-boo. Anyway, let me just get to the calls. I want to get to as many calls because I know we missed the show. 913, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind? You there, 913? Oh, 913 hung up. 913 said, I ain't got time. I changed my mind. 334. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, Yvette.
Hey.
My name is Keith.
Hey, Keith.
What's up?
Not too much.
Good. I'm calling from St. Louis, but I'm from Montgomery, Alabama.
Okay.
I wanted to call in reference to just speak about like a little bit on the HR 40 hearing.
Okay.
I want to speak about Coleman Hughes.
Okay.
So whoever set up those panelists, Coleman Hughes is 23 years old. I'm 21. I feel like I'm more qualified than him to speak on that panel. He had no business being on that panel anyway, because they lied through like omissions, keeping out like the cruise in his name, and really that whole entire hearing was just bad, and they already knew that was going to happen anyway. So.
No, I agree with you. I agree with you, fam. I think, you know, it's funny. Like I said that this, you know, and Tony and I both said this has to be a serious hearing with lawyers, economists, and we don't have to have just one hearing. We understand that there are committees and subcommittees, and this goes a long way. But like, I don't understand what undergirded him being invited, right? He has no lived experience, especially not during that period of sharecropping. He has no expertise. He's not an activist. He's not anything. He's an undergraduate who has been, you know, coddled in the bosom of white racists, you know, in terms of, I don't know if you all know it, but when you talk about Sam Harris and how Sam Harris feels about how we're genetically deficient, this is not something that he's had this argument, this debate with Ezra Klein at Vox. So when you talk about he's been taken in the bosom by these people and he's allowed to speak, regardless of what you feel like about anybody, why is he speaking with Julianne Malveaux, whether we agree with her or not on everything? MIT, right? He's speaking with Ta-Nehisi Coates, The Atlantic, who wrote the case of reparations. That didn't start, his piece did not start the reparations movement. We all know that. But still, you're talking to people who have had a platform and have had some kind of background. And you brought this kid up with no background, no anything to kind of just spout right-wing talking points.
Right, you don't know enough.
Yeah, you don't know
I
enough.
have 2 more points.
And you ain't lived enough.
Oh, say that again?
No, I said you ain't lived enough. You got to do one or both. You got to either live or have something to tell from back in the day, or you got to know. You don't know and you haven't lived. Go somewhere in your dorm room and do the stuff that students do. I don't know.
Right. Let me make the last 2 points real quick.
Sure.
One, I sent you an email about the website. Because I know you said at the beginning of the show you had some people working on the website.
Yeah.
So I feel like that email can be very important to help.
Okay, I'll check it out. I hope you. I just make sure if you send me something about something, fam, make sure you put it in all caps in the subject line. Yvette, I met you here. This is about this. Yvette website or whatever. Put it in all caps, because at this point in my life, I'm getting like a couple hundred emails a morning in addition to the DMs and the messages. So it just makes it's easy for me to see it and catch it. So, but I'll check it out, fam.
Gotcha. I'll send it to you again. And last but not least, it's pretty lighthearted. Where did you get those loafers at the Angela Project?
Stop! I was smooth. I was cold, bro. Don't mess with me. Why you mess with me? I had on my blue suede shoes.
Yo, they was nice. I liked them. Where did they come from?
Hey, don't be trying to come in on my loafer game, fam. Don't be trying to come in. Listen. Next time I got some blood burgundy ones. I'm gonna step out on. Listen, fam. I don't try to embarrass. I agree that we don't have wealth, but I ain't gonna try to embarrass you when I get out there. I'm gonna try to put something on to where you ain't just like, what the hell going on with Yvette? So they was matching the pants. It was it was a whole look. It was a lookbook look, fam. But I'm just teasing her. I'm just playing around.
Right.
But I appreciate you. Sometimes the ankles need air. You just know what I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. All right, fam. I appreciate you. Y'all, sometimes the ankles need to breathe. Y'all know that. I don't know what's wrong with everybody. Sometimes your ankles need air. Sometimes your ankles need air, and you got to do it. You just can't be. We ain't got no money, but I try not to show up looking like a bag of old potatoes. Anyway, 678. I'm coming to you. 678. What's your name? Where you coming from? What's on your mind?
Oh, hi, Yvette. This is Desi Forbes. I've been watching the show for a while. I want to say you've been doing a great job.
Okay, thank you.
On the reparations and the ADOS thing. I wanted to discuss with you and see how you were feeling besides the hearing thing. And we all know that he really doesn't, that kid didn't know what he was talking about. I'm 34, so and I have a bachelor's degree and a master's degree. I really don't use either one of them. But when he was talking, I was kind of like, where was he getting his information from or what? Because they had the football player who was past his prime, and I didn't even know who he was. And I was like, the whole panel, the whole charade, because it was sham, it was a charade, because they had one guy that was a football player past his prime, and you had the kid who was talking, and I was trying to figure out where was he getting his information from, because I was sitting back and I was like, I grew up in Atlanta and now I live in Dallas, Texas, and I'm like, when you look at gentrification and the fact that the focus from the Democratic Party has been on immigration or amnesty, and that costs a lot of money. I mean, the fact that we are spending how much money for immigration and how much money is each state paying for allowing illegals to have driver's license and without being a citizen, getting free health care, because I think California just passed that bill. They're able to get pretty much free housing whereas you have Americans, Black Americans especially, on the street living in makeshift little homeless little homes or boxes or whatever, and they're getting kicked out of their houses or homes or whatever, and the whole nation seems to be focusing on the immigration.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it, fam. I want to thank you for calling in. I got to let you go because I got to get to a bunch of other people, but I understand what you were saying. What he was saying, that was a bunch of just old tropes. And I do think something good is happening. I think we're at a point where, like, the old tropes don't work anymore. See, when you didn't have the data to actually talk about what undergirds everything that's happening, those old tropes used to work. Like, well, you can't make me a victim. You're making me a victim. No, we're victims. Like, we were victimized, and that is, that's just, to say that is like somebody who's been raped goes to the police officer. You can't make me a victim, but you are a victim. You were victimized intentionally. It doesn't matter what you say about yourself. This is this is the history of not only you as an individual, but the history of the lineage of this particular group. You don't get to make yourself into something else because you want to be a grifter, because your job as a DJ or walking around New York with your pantaloons off didn't work out for you. You don't get to come on Capitol Hill and do that. So I think everybody understands that for the hearing in general, this has been an embarrassment. He has been an embarrassment. And I kind of wonder, I think in terms of Candace Owens, what's going to happen is people going to cut her off. And she's going to hit the ground smoking. Because she's not going to be used to it, because she just say anything. Maxine Waters can't think right. She got a low IQ. You just say anything. You just crazy. You do anything for the butter biscuit. You can't do everything for the butter biscuit. You don't even know how to manage the butter biscuit. When to put jam on it, when to put butter, when to put jelly. You just be out there with it. So, like, a lot of what's happening, I think what people are going to realize is that grifterism doesn't work like it used to. Right? And when that happens, like everything, because the internet's here now. You can go get everything. All the videos, all the times you tried to do other stuff, it didn't work. So you decide to just sell your people out because good money in that. All of that's available, though. We can draw our conclusions. So I think that the people who kind of like pick these grifters up and put them out front are going to have problems. Just like Candace Owens saying something about Hitler and all that stuff. Child, you were just supposed to abuse the black people. You weren't supposed to go do stuff like that. So I think we're running into a whole different space. And I think within this space, there is an opportunity. That's the very interesting thing. It's only about whether or not we are going to be able to coalesce as a collective around our agenda enough to push it and make it work. We still got too many people that's way out of pocket. 845, I'm coming to you. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hi, Yvette. Can you hear me?
I can hear you pretty good. What's going on?
Yeah, my name is Warren Wilson. I'm from New York.
Okay.
And also, quick saying, I love your show. I watch it all the time.
Thank you.
And I studied math in college, and so on the side, I've been tutoring for about 2.5, maybe 3 years, and one of the things that I realize is, this is more to Tone's point. Yeah, one of the things that I realize is that parents are sending kids to unstandardized schools with unstandardized curriculums, with unstandardized funding, unstandardized teacher training, unstandardized learning resources, teaching kids that come from unstandardized neighborhoods. But at the very end, they make all of them take standardized tests. So kids go through 13 years of standardized education, and during the entire time they're being given standardized tests. So is it really any coincidence is that the black kids from the poor neighborhoods do considerably worse on these tests in comparison to the other students in the nations that could have far better schools, namely the white kids. So they have better curriculums, better funding, better teacher training, better resources, all of that. So the thing is, what I'm looking at is that it's not a coincidence that black, particularly ADOS people, as a percentage, have far less bachelor's and graduate degrees. So as it currently stands, 43 to 51% of students from like low-income schools, homes, neighborhoods go to college
after high school, while 81 to 87% of students from high school, from high income home schools and neighborhoods go to college after high school, particularly the white kids. So that what ends up happening is that of all of this puts ADOS kids in a disproportionately challenging position when it comes to getting higher paying jobs. So you're talking about doctors, engineers, lawyers, scientists, bankers, all of that. So the whole system is structured in a way where it keeps like the rich rich and the poor with the poor, but more to the point, it keeps whites with whites and ADOS with ADOS. So like what ends up happening is that it creates a situation where when Bernie Sanders says he wants to do a student loan debt forgiveness for everyone, effectively what it does is all of the white people, which is that all of this, if you're looking at the percentage of people in the country that actually have degrees, which is significantly most of, in terms of a percentage, mostly white population. When you're forgiving the tuition debt, effectively what you're doing is the racial wealth gap is going to widen drastically more than it is currently, because most of the people that have college degrees in the country happen to be white people. So when you forgive all of it, yes, some black people are going to get forgiveness, but as a percentage as a whole, effectively what happens is the racial wealth gap is going to grow to a point where I personally feel like it's going to be too far to even bring back, which is why I fully sympathize with when Tone said that they should do reparations first and then this after. But if you do this first, then it's almost we've passed the point of no return at that point.
You know, and I agree with you, but I have a question. Like you talked about the standardized tests and the standardized schools. What do you think of the recent changes that were put in place or suggested for the SAT? I was just asking, since you seem to be invested in talking a lot about education. I wanted to. What do you think about that? Were you aware?
Can you repeat the last part of the question? I didn't hear that.
No, the SAT test. You know, the college, getting to college. You know, they made some changes to it or whatever, right? I was just asking because you were so talking about education. What did you think about that?
So the problem is with the test, because I've been tutoring kids for ACT and SAT, and the thing is about that test, the test is fairly straightforward in terms of you don't have to be a genius to pass this test. The problem is that in the poor neighborhoods, because I tutor pretty much like mostly black kids anyway, what ends up happening is that the students from these schools, they're not prepared to take this test at all, not even remotely, for the most part. And for what I've realized, like a lot of the kids that are trying to take that test, they're probably 2 grades behind in terms of being actually prepared. And even though I try and tutor most of those kids, like the offers I get are typically from other white people because they can afford it. Like you'd be surprised how many people cannot afford $30 an hour for a tutor.
I couldn't afford it when I was in high school, and I had 2 working class parents. I had to go to like a course that was at the school, which was like 2 days. I couldn't afford nobody to come in for $30 an hour. And it's not. I'm not saying it's a lot. It's American money. It's not. But I'm just saying I couldn't afford. So I totally believe you.
Yeah.
I appreciate it, fam. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
No
I appreciate it, fam.
Thank you for having me. Have a good night.
You too. You enjoy your night. We're gonna get through some more calls here this evening, fam. I am going now to 267. 267. What is your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hi, Yvette. This is Princess Six calling from the ACL. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm good. I was at the hearing last Wednesday, and it was pretty interesting. I'm glad I had the opportunity to be there. All I can really say, what stands out for me the most is that you and Tone have really lit a fire under a whole lot of people.
That's good.
The camaraderie between us, I mean, a lot of people have met them online, but it was the first time we were meeting. And it was like you know, we were there in a mission. Everyone had their plan. Everyone was serious. We helped each other. But it was just a very rewarding experience being there. And I don't know if you are aware or not, but after the hearing, we kind of went our separate ways. We split up. But all of us managed to get some lobbying done that day.
Okay.
On Capitol Hill.
Okay.
We were there and so absolutely. So I also had called a couple months ago. Switching gears, but I called a couple months ago. I tell you about my student loans. So, you know, I had a sneaking suspicion that between Elizabeth Warren and Bernie, you know, someone was going to come out with student loan program, and Lord knows I need it. But at the same time, I have people in my family who need far more than I need, and I am holding out until they put some reparations together for all ADOS. Because what they're trying to do is create a wedge issue for us so that those who do have student loans, those who are more privileged, I am too privileged, even though I owe a grip of student loans. I am too privileged to sell out the rest of my family. I'm bringing all my cousins with me. And if all my cousins ain't getting broke off, I'm not getting broke off either. So, you know, they can go here somewhere. We got to stick together, people. We got to stay on top of HR 40. I just wanted to ask you, though, I mean, what's next? What do you recommend that we do at this juncture?
Well, Dr. Sandy Darity was talking to me about, like, I think what we have to do over here is, like, I think some changes have to be made to HR 40, right? And I think what we have to do is make those changes. We have to do that. You know, there really should be executive action, but we know we're not going to get that under Trump, right? So I think we have to fix that. I think that's the first part. Like we have to change HR 40. That it's not robust enough in terms of what needs to happen. And, you know, it has to be a very specific framework. So that to me is like that's what's next. In terms of immediacy. But the other part of what's next is that we have to keep pushing. Like this is a presidential election. It's a very specific time, right? We have to be very specific in terms of our agenda. And shout out to everybody who was at the fish fry, taping people and talking to people. These people are public people, and they're not used to being held accountable in public. So I think a lot of what we're doing, we have to HR 40, but a lot of what we're doing, people are not used to us running up to them and demanding substance as opposed to symbolism. So in that way, we're changing the political interaction in terms of the exchange that people kind of expect us to be the mule, and we're going to talk good to black people, we eat the black eyed peas, we're going to eat the cornbread, and everything's going to be okay. We are changing that. But I think we have to stay on the path that we're on. One of the worst things that could happen is that black people tend to, well, it's not just that, it's the TV, right? We have TV, internet, or whatever, all this other stuff. So what happens is we get tired or we lose interest. And like the reward in terms of politics goes to people who are steadfast. We have an agenda and we're sticking to it. We don't care how you feel. We don't care what you think. We have an agenda and we're sticking to it to the end. We're in a presidential campaign. We got to do it.
Amen.
We got to do it.
Amen.
You know how many? Were you in that hallway? Were you in that hallway when they were at the hearing?
Yeah, exactly. I was in the hallway in that hearing because we had got there.
But look, who else was back there though? I'm just saying, you saw other people. You saw all the ADOS in there with you.
Yeah, we were because Ryan from DMV was there first, and then about 4 of us came after her. We were the first 10 people there. We had time to go get breakfast. They brought chairs out for us. We were chilling. We were chilling. And then all of a sudden, before we knew it, it was just a rush. And then they had all the cameras there. It was bedlam. Luckily, we stood our ground and we were able to get in. But it was truly hectic. And
I saw y'all on Twitter standing your ground. I saw y'all on Twitter. Y'all was like, no, we've been here since very early.
Yes. And we had to. I mean, I couldn't even believe it because there was another hearing going on around the corner, and everyone was lined up, and it was orderly, and everything was okay. But for some reason, and I think it was kind of media thing, they wanted that to be bedroom outside of the HR 40 reparations hearing. My opinion, that's my opinion. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, but shout out, shout out to y'all, cause I asked you because I want to know what the experience was, because I saw pictures and stuff, but in a few videos, but I wasn't there. I was in Birmingham, so I didn't really get the experience. I saw, man, it was crazy seeing ADOS shirts in the room. But I think people gotta understand, we gotta keep doing it. That don't mean everybody gotta keep doing the same thing. Some people gotta take a break, and then other people gotta step up for a minute. Some people gotta take a nap, some people gotta step up. But this has to be politics has to be, you asked me what has to happen. Politics has to become a part of our culture. Right. It has to become a part of our culture.
I agree. I think we gotta be everywhere they are. We can be respectful, but we have to, we can't get away from these ADOS. Every fundraiser, every fish fry, we have to, somebody, whether it's 1, 2, 3 of us, somebody has to be there to always make sure that we're just in the room.
Yeah, thank you, fam, and I appreciate that. And I tell you what else, I would prefer, I understand it's not always possible, but if it is possible, I would prefer if you're able to go to these events with a friend. With another ADOS friend. Watch your back. Watch your back. Of course, don't put your hands on nobody. We don't support violence. We don't encourage it. And watch your back, because you don't know. You be so busy saying, I'm not gonna put my hands on nobody. Somebody run up on you, put their hands on you. You gotta watch your back, because people are provocateurs. They are instigators, and they are looking for a moment. They're looking for optics to make us look like we're crazy. Ain't nothing wrong with us. So make sure we do that. And as far as the more we go, the better we get at it. That's what happens. The more we do it, the better we are at it. So we have to keep doing, have sustained energy, but don't do it. It's a marathon. Don't run full speed in the first mile. We did our stuff. Okay, now we back to pacing ourselves. We had to sprint a little bit. Boy rose up on us. Now we got it. Okay, now we back to pacing ourselves. We'll get the rhythm right, though. We just have to make this a part of our culture. And let me just say something. Part of what was beautiful about that room was that people were starting to understand it, we're the same. We're all ADOS, we in this. This is family. You have to start to understand that we're family. And this is part of, culturally, it's part of what we do. Everything changes. We're not just this or just that. No, we're ADOS, we're a group, we're our own tribe. And once you understand that, then you get in the mode of doing stuff for your tribe and being there for your tribe. And I got you, sis. I got you, bro. This is what you have to do. This is something, this identity creates a culture around it that is so important in terms of our politics.
Absolutely.
So I appreciate you calling in, fam.
Doing what you're doing.
You neither.
You were so 100%. And, we got a long way to go, but with keeping us together and everything, we'll be okay. We're gonna learn.
We're gonna learn. We're gonna keep it pushing. Thank you, fam. But we're gonna keep it pushing. We have to. This is a learning process. If you didn't learn something, I always said, I encourage everybody who's new to this or doing this, keep a political journal. Start with the first day you followed your political representative online, or what you said, or what you did, and what you think worked and didn't work. This is part of the whole process, and you'll be able to. That's something you'll be able to pass down to your kid. Listen, we have to do politics. This is how we have to do it. These are mistakes I made. These are things I did right. Part of what you pass down in life is your wisdom. It's not just wealth is a part of it, but we're largely a wealthless group. We're trying to get wealth and build that and move towards that. But you have to be wise in terms of how you deal with your own kids and the kids they're gonna have. This is what it is. I am going now to you out of the country, I think. 278 something. I'm coming to you.
Yes, Yvette, that's me. Hello?
I can hear you. What's going on, fam?
Yvette? Okay, great. Yvette, I guess you want my name. I'll use an ADOS name. I'm going to change my name. Just call me Sloan Warrior, or as you would just say, fam. And I'm calling you from the rural area in South Africa. It's an Eastern kid called Alice. I'm on a cell phone because we have no landlines here. Whatever. Don't worry about that. I will be in the country in about a week, and I'll be there for several months. I'm coming especially for ADOS because I am going to the conference. I had a friend of mine died a long time ago, so I'll be there. Yeah. Now here's the thing. I'm like I said, I'm from South Africa in the Eastern Cape. I don't want to talk about Africa right now, but But there's a thing, there's hard colonialism where you have the military, you have you get used to the we call religion part of it. Then there's this soft colonialism where you have like sports and entertainment, what have you. So my thing in this is to deal with this soft colonialism. In other words, what has to happen now is not the big kind of thing, but on some level we have to comedians, poets, all that kind of thing. They have to be informed and start in their own craft to deal with ADOS or to deal with the talking points.
Who got to be taught? Who did you say? Who did you say have to be taught to deal with ADOS? Who did you say?
Just any like poets, comedians, whatever. Your little thing, not the big time people. They have. I guess we'll get to them eventually. But I'm just saying because that's how it spreads. Because people, like you said, people will listen to a song before they listen to you speak. A lot of times I say, well, no, you can put politics in a song. The biggest example is being Bob Marley when he sang War, and then they say, well, that's Haile Selassie's speech to the UN. It's in a song, so you know that speech because you know the song War. So that's what I'm saying. You understand?
I hear you.
Hello?
I heard you.
Okay, great. But that's what I'm saying. So I'm jumping in the country next week. Is the 4th of July. I'll be at the African Street Festival, and then I'll be there until November, something like that. So talk to you again. Thank you.
Okay, appreciate you. Thank you for calling in all the way from South Africa. I appreciate you calling in. You know what? The funniest thing, we be having allies. We got allies all over the place. I don't know what we be talking about. Everybody understands. I want you to get yours, and I want to get mine. What's wrong with that? We can all work together. What's wrong with y'all? Anyway, we are going now to. I'm going to 301. 301. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, evening, Sister Yvette. How you doing? This is Marshall. And of course, I'm calling from the DMV right outside D.C., Peachtree County. How you feeling, sister?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
I'm doing very well. I'm trying to, along with shout out to Prince, that's who called in earlier. I was one of the early people in the hallway. And I want to give this to you, first of all. I know that people have been, any questions that you may have, and I know that you would, we're talking with Princess earlier, but any questions you may have to any of us who call in or may call in, like what was your biggest question that you would have for us that were like in the hallway, or like how you like any question you want to like get to us about the feeling and whatever you may have, because I got a few points I want to hit and then I'm gonna get off the phone.
No, I just the main question I would have was in Cobra. Was in Cobra there, and did they steal seats? Were they there when you got in the room?
Okay. Yes, that's kind of what I want to get into, and I'll be real quick with it.
Okay.
Yes, part of the push of the first of all, let me say this here. Shout out to Roz. She runs the ADOS DMV region. She helped organize some of the early people that got in the morning.
We know Roz from the DMV.
Absolutely. Shout out to Sarah Lee and Princess in Georgia. They were some of the first people I met that morning. Many of us got there at 6 a.m., but we couldn't get at the part of the building until 7. So we were the first ones there at the door when they were delivering papers and still cleaning up. Shout out to, oh, Lord, who else? Tony Blood, who was there with his beautiful family. Shout out to Brother Reggie from Boston was there.
I saw a picture of Reggie.
Whose name I'm going to forget. I know there's a couple of people whose name I'm going to forget. So shout out to the sister who's running ADOS down in North Carolina. What's Good 3 on Twitter, and sister Dr.J on Twitter. They were all there. We were the first people there in line. 3 of the main things that I want to take away from this. I don't think ADOS truly has anything to worry about from NARC and in Cobra. And here's what I mean. In Cobra, one of the people in line, and they unfortunately did get in, who was kind of an agitator to make sure that they got in, they did hold seats for in Cobra. And I think what it was is many of these elders who are in Cobra and NARC are familiar with many of the people in the CBC.
They have relationships.
Because they go to the CBC weekends. They do have relations. They're in the same fraternities and sororities, maybe the same lodges. They see each other at the churches that many of the CBC members from out of town go to. So when Sheila Jackson Lee mentioned that, I want to thank Cobra and NARC, there was some cheers in the room, but mainly it was because of their relationship. I want to say right now that the true push that ADOS had is that not only did we show up, but we were very active. As Princess said earlier, matter of fact, that sister had printed out the Dr. Darity Duke study, and I did a little bit of lobbying that day and went out. I went to my congressperson, Representative Anthony Brown. I went to his office and dropped off that, and I've been calling several members of not only the CBC but people on the subcommittee just to say, hey, you need to expand it. What I wanted to get out there was this. The next phase that Sheila Jackson Lee was speaking about at the end of the hearing was how the process of getting this bill passed. And the next phase is the markup phase. This is the important phase that you and Tone kept talking about, how you want to hear the historians and the economists and how this can run. Well, now is the time when all of that information is going to be given to the committee and the co-sponsors to basically see how far they can expand H.R. 40. So I'm telling people on Twitter and who I can, if you're to continue to stay motivated about H.R. 40 and let them know that, further information is needed. Also, what I learned in doing a little campaigning and lobbying that day, walking from the Rayburn building to the Longfellow building, was that you always talk about people who beg, not so much beg, but people who lobby and people who want to get themselves known, know how to go to these Congress people and these senators and speak for their needs. When I'm walking through the halls, I see people who are coming from 3 different states who had issues about, they talk about Flint, but there was heavy pollution of water in eastern Tennessee. So there was a contingency of people in there going to speak to their representatives. There was contingency of people from the Free Iran organization. And I'm walking around and I'm looking and I'm saying to myself, damn, this is what Yvette is talking about, activity and getting your voice heard. I hardly saw any black people there except for staffers, and I may have missed other ADOS people who were going out and who were doing advocacy work, on HR 40 for ADOS, but that's what we need. And so therefore, I would just tell people who are listening to me, for ADOS, keep the pressure on, contact these people, call, text, email. I know that a lot of these elders who are representatives, and I'm trying to be real quick because I know you got other calls, basically their staffs handle their email, but what they always do is take a note of how many people called today on a certain issue.
And as a former staffer, I can say that's true. Like, we keep a tally of how many pros and cons and for and against and how energetic people were. Like, the cons is really mad. So yes, they keep a tally of that.
And we need to be on that. All I can say is this. Shout out to Brother Reggie. He was one of the last people to get in from ADOS into the conference. And I say this here, I don't have the picture, but imagine having to walk in front of Incorporate and Narcan, especially Mark Thompson, with your ADOS shirt on, saying, excuse me, and they looking exactly, at, like ADOS. Not only are we here, but, we sitting right next to you, and we may lap you in this. The old way, they haven't stepped up their game, so therefore, we're here to hopefully let them step up their game. If not, they, as those people get elected out of office and as they age out of their seats, those connections and networking go away, and we have to be the next people that step in. I wish that there's so much more I want to say, sister. I will tell you this: you and Tone's energy were there with us. We love you. Keep going. We there with you. And lastly, I had sent you a text online on Twitter, going back and forth with these people. I will say this here, invoke the spirit of Little Duval. I ain't going back and forth with you, and I ain't going to finish it, but you know how it goes. And if people have not, when we are arguing, not so much arguing, but when we're debating with people, we need to set the debate this way. Have you gone to ADOS 101 and have you read Dr. Darity's study? If you haven't done those 2 things and you're coming at me with problems about my stance on reparations and how we can get it done, I really can't speak to you. If you come at me and, hey, I went to ADOS 101, and I've read the study. If you still have issues about why you're doing it this way and why you're doing it that way, and you don't understand how truly bad the racial wealth gap is, I don't know what to say to you. You need to read it again and do some more research.
Yeah,
Good night, sister. Love you.
appreciate you.
Keep it going.
Thank you. That was a beautiful synopsis. I appreciate you, bro. That was a beautiful synopsis of the wonder and power of ADOS in that room. Walking by Mark Thompson with your shirt on. What you gonna do, child? That was a wonderful synopsis of everything that happened. Y'all showed up, showed out. I am going right now to 617. 617, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, it's Reggie from Boston.
Reggie! We were just talking about you. What's up?
Oh man, a shout out to Brother Marshall, Princess Six, Tony, Rosin from the DMV. So many other people came. It was really great to see, people on the ground. Shout out to Brother Amos who organized a demonstration outside of the hearing while we were inside. It was just very interesting, just that the ones that everyone was calling bots a few months ago not only saw us there, but at the front of the line. I mean, Vladimir Putin must have cut a big check if it was the Russians.
He must have paid us already. I didn't see the money, but he must have done something. We just bots. First we was bots, then we was just a hashtag. We was just online, then ADOS showed up on Capitol Hill. Ain't it something?
Yeah, it's interesting. It just kind of, the loudness and the aggression that kind of comes from the online space and kind of a certain level of semi-anonymity. A lot of that, that aggression goes away when people get on the ground and actually
all of it, Reggie, all of it. It goes with, what I was trying to say. What I was trying to say is that we disagree with you.
No, but there was some opportunities for some for some dialogue and some conversations and clearing the air on some things. I'm not going to name names of the people that I was running around with, but it's people understand that ADOS is here. I feel like when you kind of go through those 5 stages of grief, everybody's headed for acceptance. Everybody's headed for acceptance. I'm gonna just say that. But shout out to Princess Six again, because I think she was being a little humble. I think she hit up about 16 reps like by herself.
Oh wow, she was moving, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was moving, and like I said, Marshall talked to Anthony Brown. I wish I could remember the name of the person who put the packet together. It was a very concise rendering of both the ADOS agenda put together with charts from the wealth gap report with some bullet points. That's what was dropped off, and just the way that it was put together, it just really just hits them, just boom, boom, and just really makes the case concisely. So I don't remember who put the packet together, but shout out to you. It's an excellent lobbying packet. I used a couple myself. Andre Carson from Illinois, he saw us in the hallway, so we kicked it for a little bit. Cory Booker, some of his staffers were there.
Cool.
Had a great meeting with Ayanna Presley.
Oh, good. Is she your representative? I know she's up there, but is she your rep?
Yeah, she's my rep. We were actually on the same flight, Yvette.
Oh, okay.
So when we got off the plane, we had a good meeting. Had a real good meeting with her staff following up. She was presiding over the House floor, the day of the hearing. We got a chance to drop off the packets, with them. We really stressed the importance of Professor Darety's testimony, which they did read and they did engage. So that's out there. And one of the things that that I told the staff when they asked us about how we felt about the hearings, and what I told them and what I'll say here is pretty much what we're dealing, not only with the hearing, but just with reparations in general, and even a black agenda, going forward. What we're dealing with is Republican avoidance and indifference, along with Democratic incompetence and cowardice. And I don't have time. And I don't have time for either. And, just going forward, like Marshall said, we got to keep the pressure on, continue to read, continue to educate yourselves. I myself have been, just trying to learn, more about how the electoral politics and the strategies and the inner workings of how campaigns work. And a lot of other ADOS people are following that same trajectory as far as education and tactics, along electoral strategies. And I'm just saying, we're in a marathon, but I'm just saying, don't be surprised if you wake up in the months and years and election cycles to come when people are getting primaried and taken off the board, and you don't know how it happened.
Yeah,
it's one thing to have the electoral strategies and the algorithms and the math and the connections and all of that. It's another thing to have the data and really know what's going on with you.
You exactly right, Reggie. But let me ask you something. One of the things, since you were there, one of the things that I couldn't figure out, I don't know if you know, but why did it seem like towards the front end of the hearing, it seemed like you heard from like Sheila Jackson Lee, Ta-Nehisi Coates, a little bit of Danny Glover, whatever. But then it seemed like that there was a Republican kind of takeover, in the sense that you had Burgess Owens and this Coleman, and I didn't understand how that played in. Did anybody talk about that, or did you get any insight into that?
Well, from what I was looking, and Danny Glover, to his credit, tried to push back, because the Republicans kept going to Glover saying, "Oh, I love your movies. I want to go to your movies," and they spent so much time talking about that. And for Coleman, they just pretty much said, good boy. But but this is the problem, and the same with Burgess Owens. Also, we love you in the game, but the problem that's happening is this is the problem with black celebrity. Not taking anything away from Glover's work or from Ta-Nehisi Coates' work, but when you have that fame aspect and you're brought here for your fame and not for your expertise, whether it's there or not, it really takes away from the conversation. That's just where the Republicans went. And like I said, Democratic incompetence and cowardice. They did not know how to push back. You could just take a random sampling of anybody from the ADOS space who's been following us for a while. You could have put them in the middle of that hearing, they would have took the whole panel to school. Except maybe, Dr. Malvo, because, she has some expertise in the area. Ta-Nehisi Coates did some work, Glover did some work. But as far as the pushback to the Republicans, I think the Democrats did just a poor job. They just let them just kind of get away with saying the most insane stuff. And had they had a grasp on the data, you just could have just knocked that flat easily, quickly, concisely, and in front of the whole nation. It was an abysmal failure from our side of the aisle, just an abysmal failure. But like I said, on the lobbying end, we were really able to make the case. So I feel like that, in some ways, is more important than the hearing, because we are able to keep putting pressure.
Yeah, you did what you were supposed to do. Yeah, absolutely.
Once the cameras are off, you still got to deal with me and my vote and where that's going to go based on your behavior.
All right, Reg, you exactly right. I appreciate that. Was a nice synopsis. I appreciate that, fam. Yeah. You got any last things you want to say?
No, just since Bernie was the topic, I think in terms of Bernie and even with Elizabeth Warren with some of the plans that she had lately. I think she said like a couple of hundred of millions or something for the HBCUs, and Professor Darity did a great job with just comparing that small investment to what Walmart was bringing in, and just how paltry that was in comparison. That you really have to have a massive plan, not just throwing out a couple dollars here and there and saying, here's the wealth gap. And it's just interesting to me just how people like Bernie and Warren just seem to be able to just understand the numbers and what percent has this, what percent has that. And not only that, you can just find all kind of ways to extract wealth for class-based programs, but when it comes to ADOS, it's like we're in third grade math all of a sudden. But that's all I got to say, Yvette.
I appreciate it, Reggie. Thank you for that whole synopsis. I saw a picture of Reggie. I was like, I know that face anywhere. And that's Reggie from Boston. Anyway, I'm going to my next call. I'm going to 804. 804, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, 804. I'm so sorry. You ain't coming in good. I apologize, but it's real staticky. Y'all heard that's real staticky. I apologize, 804. It just didn't come in good. I'm calling 757. What's going on?
What's up, Yvette Cardinal?
What's going on, Otis? How you doing?
Hey, I'm feeling good, and I want to get straight to the point.
Okay.
Bernie is really pulled a fast one on us. He pulled his version of Robert Smith, huh? Instead of paying for 400 HBC graduates, he's going to do the rising tide universality and take care of everybody. You dissected it really good. But I want to make it plain that we're at a place now where you came on the scene and you defined reparations for America. You and Tone have done an excellent job at that. I think we're maturing. It's taken a lot longer than I wanted it to. But we have arrived. They sent the goons for us. They tried to make us bots and Russian facilitators and all of that. We survived it. And this thing in HR 40, the spectacle, I tried to tell you over a year ago that I actually heard in Colbert bragging about their access to it and how they had planned it. So it didn't surprise me that seats were reserved for them because they'd already talked about having relationships with some of the staff members of the CBC. So here's my point to you. Bernie is universality. The first universality that we ran into as the people was Pan-Africanism. Everybody wants us to be a part of universality. But you and Tone have brought this thing to the need for specificity. It is only when we start talking about what it is we need out of this universality is when people suddenly say it's divisive. All of a sudden, everything that Tone talked about, he explained to you how Bernie wants to help everybody. That's supposedly helping black people too. He's talked about all of these programs, even Elizabeth Warren, when you look at it, it's we will do for all because all of us are Americans. But you've already given us the specificity of the data that shows universality is exactly why we are in the position we're in. Everybody wants to succeed off of our failure. We have to go back along with progressing now, and I've talked about it repeatedly in some of the groups I'm in. We have to go back now and make it plain. Reparations is not what you thought it was. It is precisely what we talked about when we got ready to gun down the lady who wanted to wear blackness to become the first female president. We want to wear down the people that we have to go back after again. We started on him, and I tried to make the point, and I accept this as a personal failure. When I talked about Jim Clyburn, and people called in and told you how he had a protected district, told you about 10 years at Denmark and what those people are going through, he's done nothing for them. But he had staked out his Al Sharpton claim in Congress because he is the kingmaker. Did you see how many Democratic candidates showed up for his bench prime?
Yeah, everybody.
My point to you being, again, you got time, money, and energy to play broker for white America and universality, but you have no specifics for your own people. So we have to stay with this thing that reparations is how we define it. And another thing that I think I've told you repeatedly, and I'll say it differently this time. We've been Negroes, colors, African Americans, all kinds of things that other people have imposed. You and Tone have helped us define who we are. That is another part of the specificity that is really driving people crazy. Here's a perfect example. Amani Perry. I tried to share with you a couple of months ago an interview she did with Angela Davis.
Okay.
And I think the point that I made to you at that time with Angela was Angela Davis went to the heart of what's wrong within Cobra and the long conversation we had about people bragging about longevity. Longevity means nothing if your contribution has not been for the uplift of all. If your longevity has been in padding your resume and talking in your silos of academia, your longevity does nothing for Black America or for ADUS. And we have to make that point clear. We're not here to try to figure out how to continue universality. We're here for the specificity of what we have been robbed of and continue to be robbed of. I love what you're doing. I'm looking forward to the next phase of this thing. And we're gonna push back against those people because they're not going to get HR 40 out without having the very same things that I keep telling people to go back and do. People challenge me on ADOS 101, talking about how it doesn't give anything. If you can read ADOS 101, what Tone has put together, and not understand how fully it incorporates every phase of what we've been talking about, generational wealth, autonomy to be able to control your own neighborhoods, having a protective class so you don't have to worry about what happens when you go to court or when you make these appeals for injustices done to you. All of that is included in ADOS 101. And I'm telling you, I disagree with Reggie on one thing. It's not that these people don't have the data. It's just that the specificity has shown them they don't get to benefit. They were all for us as long as we stayed with the universality, and they got a cut. When we clearly define that reparations is about the tort done to us, the harm done to us, that is the break. No, if I can't get it, you can't get it. Doesn't matter that you don't qualify for it. You only have an allyship with me if you can benefit too. That is a person that is not out for justice, and it's not by accident, and it's not because of stupidity. It is a selfish greed that has been a part of that organization, some of them for years. Here's my point to you. I don't like to say his name, but it's necessary to get this point across. When you talk about that Coleman, Cruz, Hughes, and all of the incoherent crap that he spoke, yes, he was a GOP plant, but even worse than that, what was caught on camera phone, and it's on Twitter, Mark Thompson went over and had one gripe with that young man. And you are that gripe one? Stop saying cut the check, man. Stop saying cut the check, because it's not about the check. It's not about the check. Stop saying that. That's the only thing. And let's tie that into some facts that we have. CJ Go made it plain when I kept alluding to it. NARC has in their plan that if reparations are successful, that they get to set up a trust so they can disperse the money. So that tells you they never intended for the type of reparations that you're talking about and Tone is talking about. Not only a monetary payment, but a change in the structure that is creating systemic problems for us. So those people told on themselves. Here's another one. When Princess wanted a picture with Mark Thompson, what did he do? He tried to vet her for whether or not she was ADUS. So she gave him, if you listen to it, it is a classic, and it will come back to decades, I will make sure it does. To vet her, he started talking about ADOS crazy. And her response is, I'm just a citizen. When she said, I'm just a citizen, he gladly took a picture with her. Now, here's what I want to ask you. Are ADOS people not citizens? Do you see the stupidity in that? When he tried to vet her, he asked her a question that was so asinine that an honest response still led him to get a picture with an ADOS purebred. Princess is gold. She's the one that started the SoundCloud thing, and she's been really instrumental behind the scenes and helped to coordinate and showing us how to get the job done.
But let me say one other thing, Otis. Let me say one other thing. One other thing that you were talking about, the stuff Mark Thompson did that was stupid. It was a lot of stupid that he did, and you're right about the stuff that you pointed out. But the other thing is, when you realize that Coleman Hughes shouldn't be here speaking, you don't kind of run up to him and try to get him to sit down and have lunch. Where you going now? You going somewhere? We're going to go. I'll go with you. I explain it to you like I want to. You go, I know where they sell chicken. Like, you don't do that. You freeze him out. Like, no, I'm a strong arm you. Like, don't do that. Don't come over here to me, man. Like, he ran up to him like he was a star. Like, I'm just trying to get you to not do this, because if you do this, I'm not going to get a check and I'm not going to get the trust fund. Like, it was like, no, you don't validate him that way. And when he ran up, when he like was talking to him, it's like, why'd you validate him?
I tell you what the difference is as an old man. None of that surprises me, Vet. And one of the reasons that it doesn't surprise me is he is a new iteration of the Walter Williams, the Thomas Sewells, the Armstrong Williams, all of the Glenn Lowry, the John McWhorters. They were picked and propagated to do exactly what they're doing. That young man, Alexander put out a really good piece telling you about that young man. He did what every one of the people that hate specificity has done. When it was beneficial for him, he opted into blackness.
Yeah, he said he chose it. He said he chose it for the social capital. He said, I chose to be black because it's more social capital.
And that has been our arbitrage ever since they started letting immigrants into the country. Not that we don't like blackness, is we understand the reason that they were let in. And they are performing as expected. Much love to you.
Appreciate it, Otis. The Otis call must have dropped something. But appreciate it. Much love. Or my call might have dropped. Hold on 1 second, fam. I think my call dropped off or something. Hold on 1 second. Let me see if I can set the phones back up. Because I want to take, well, it's already, I want to take a couple more calls, but it's already, I suppose, late enough. It's already midnight. So like the phone call did something. Something did something strange. So if I did get to you today, we'll try to get back and we'll kind of keep this conversation going about HR 40. I'll keep it going for another episode because I don't know what happened to the phone. Just fell off. Just did something. But it's been storming around here, so I don't know what's going on. Fam! Do not forget, if I did not get to you today or whatever, we'll get to it. We'll talk about it. This is not the end of what we're doing. This is not the end of the discussion that we're having, fam. So please understand that if I didn't get to you, we will have a conversation soon. We just talked to the people that we talked to today, but I meant to go on a little bit later. Thunderstorms, thunder bumpers, all kind of weird technological things. Things happen. So please don't forget August the 1st, fam. We're going to be reading this book. Don't forget that. And shout out the love of everybody. I just can't tell you enough how much I am proud of everybody who showed up, showed out, and organized and showed up with your ADOS t-shirt. So they can't say, no, these was just our people. Y'all got it all wrong. It wasn't your people, it was just our people in there. It was just us and the Black Panthers. No. I saw the shirts. I even saw people who wasn't in the shirts, but I saw the shirts. Like, you can't say that no more. You had to see us. You had to feel us. And so, power, all this responds to pressure. That's where we are. So, I want to thank everybody who showed up, showed out. I appreciate you. We're going to have the conversation. We're not going to let the conversation go. I appreciate the conversation that we have had, family. Please finish your libation, whatever it was, that's chamomile tea or a little something extra that you shouldn't be drinking on a Monday night. Please finish it up. Get to bed. You can do it all over again. If I didn't get to your call tonight because the phone call, the line did something strange, call back on the next show, and on Wednesday we'll have a conversation. We'll still have a little HR 40 in there, because I know some of you were probably in the queue to talk about that and didn't get a chance to talk about that. So till next time, fam, please relax yourself. Don't let these people stress you out. Don't let nobody make you feel any kind of way that you don't want to feel. Don't let them emotionally tax you. These people are crazy. We'll be dealing with crazy people for some time. Okay? Finish your libation. Go to bed. Talk soon, family.